A soft tap on the shoulder jolted President William Reed awake. "Mr. President," a voice whispered. Will blinked into the darkness. A Secret Service agent loomed beside his bed, his face taut under the dim glow of the open door light. Will rubbed the sleep from his eyes. "What's going on?" he murmured. "Apologies, sir. An urgent meeting was called by National Security Advisor James Keller." Will glanced at the other side of the bed where Laura lay. She turned away, tucking her head deeper under the blanket. "Did something happen?" he asked, slipping out of bed. "I don't know, sir," the agent replied, already turning toward the door. Will donned a robe and followed him through the cool White House corridors. Even at this hour, the building buzzed faintly with unseen life, aides and officers operating in perpetual crisis mode. The agent led him to the Situation Room, where a tense gathering awaited. Senior officials, some in robes like Will, others in crisp suits, and two of them in military uniforms. James Keller, National Security Advisor, stood at the head of the table, his suit immaculate despite the 3 a.m. hour. "Take a seat, Will," said Joe Brennan, Secretary of State, his robe rumpled. "Sorry for the hour, but this can't wait." Will sank into his chair, heart ticking faster. "What's this about?" Keller nodded to Michael Vaughn, CIA Director. "Show him." "A troubling intelligence report, sir," Vaughn said. He tapped a console and the wall screen flared to life, displaying a grainy video of deep space. A distant light moved steadily, tracked by the camera lens. "What am I looking at?" Will asked, leaning forward. Vaughn zoomed in, revealing a pixelated spacecraft. Another click highlighted Chinese characters etched across its hull. "A Chinese ship?" Will's brow furrowed. "Yes. Caught by one of our long-range observation satellites," Vaughn said. "It seems to have launched from a secret base in the asteroid belt, transporting a crew to Earth." "A secret base?" "Yes, we're not sure where exactly, but all signs point to at least one undisclosed Chinese installation somewhere in the belt." "And what's so urgent about this base?" "It's not the base that is urgent," Vaughn pointed with a laser pointer to the screen. "We discovered the ship when it was near Mars. We've tracked it as it traveled to Earth. Its engines remained active the entire way. The trip lasted less than a day." "Less than a day?" Will frowned. "Yes. In fact, it landed about—" Vaughn glanced at his watch. 21 minutes ago." "How's that possible?" Will said. "Our ships take at least a month to get from Mars to Earth." "We don't know how they managed it, sir," Vaughn said. "Mr. President," said a thin, elderly man with glasses and a pleasant smile. He raised a frail hand. His face was familiar, but Will couldn't immediately place him. "I'm Robert Benoff, Chief Science Advisor to the White House, sir." "Ah, yes, of course. A flight at such speed is beyond anything we possess," Benoff said. "It borders on science fiction. But the most shocking part of this is that there was a crew on board." "Why is that important?" Will asked. "To accelerate to that velocity would subject the ship and its crew to the pressure of thousands of Gs, far beyond human tolerance. For context, most humans black out at 10 G. With drugs and training, tolerance can be raised slightly, but nowhere near what's needed here." Will inhaled slowly. "You're sure this was a manned mission?" "Yes," Vaughn confirmed. The screen changed to grainy, green-tinged footage showing figures exiting a docked spacecraft. "This is the crew disembarking," Vaughn said. "It's undeniable. They've overcome speed limitations, energy constraints, and, most impressively, human biological limits," Benoff added. "How is that possible?" Will asked. Benoff shrugged. "Hard to say. Maybe a breakthrough in antimatter propulsion? That field is still purely theoretical on this side of Earth." "And the human tolerance?" Benoff frowned deeper. "Even harder to explain. Maybe revolutionary drugs or gravity manipulation. Frankly, I wouldn't even know how to begin approaching such technology." Will swallowed and looked around. All the men in the room wore grave expressions. "This changes everything," Keller said. "If they can move freely at those speeds, all our bases and colonies are vulnerable. Reinforcements would take months to arrive. They could strike anywhere they want." "How did they get their hands on this technology?" Will asked. "We don't know," Vaughn said. "The effects will be disastrous," said David Cole, Secretary of Defense. He turned to the uniformed men, John Marsh, Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and Paul Hayes, Space Force Commander. "Generals, could you briefly explain the dangers of this development?" Marsh nodded to Hayes, who tapped on his pad. The screen displayed a map of the belt. "Our bases on Ceres, Vesta, and Davida may be under imminent threat," Hayes said. The screen zoomed in on a cluster of small domes and military spacecraft fields. "Our smaller bases would be completely exposed as well. We will have no effective way to learn of an attack in time or prepare for it. Defending our outposts will become impossible." "Do you believe an attack is likely?" Will asked. "If we do nothing, yes," Marsh said. "If not now, then soon, once they have enough ships that can move at this speed. They would likely try to control mining operations for rare space materials," Joe added. "It would tip the global balance of power." "They could even cut us off from space entirely," Keller said grimly. "We don't know how long they've had this technology," Vaughn said. "They might have already established bases far beyond what we are aware of." "Our Mars colonies could be next," Cole added. "They could take the whole planet, and we will be powerless to stop them." Will sighed, massaging his temples for several moments. "How did this happen?" "How are you finding out about this just now?" he barked at Vaughn. "This must have taken years to develop. Decades. Don't you have sources? Spies?" "There was nothing to indicate this, sir," Vaughn said defensively. "How can there be nothing?" Will yelled. Vaughn lowered his gaze. "We'll figure out blame later," Keller said. "Right now, we need to focus on what to do." Will exhaled. "What are our options?" The men exchanged tense looks. Joe nodded to Benoff, then spoke. "We should consult our allies immediately and ramp up research into similar technologies," Benoff said. "Meanwhile, we could open negotiations with the Chinese, perhaps offer exclusive mining rights to some asteroids, figure out what can keep them at bay." "A preemptive surrender," Cole muttered. "They can demand anything, and we'll have no choice but to comply." Will agreed bitterly. "If we do nothing, America is finished," Keller said. "Our allies will abandon us the moment we lose the technological edge." "What do you suggest?" Will asked. Keller turned to Vaughn. They exchanged a glance. The screen changed to show satellite imagery of a military base in the mountains. "This is Xinglong Base," Vaughn said. "Where the ship is docked. Our best option is a covert operation to steal it while it's still there and study it ourselves." "Steal a spaceship?" Will exclaimed. "How do you plan to do that without being noticed?" "The chances of success aren't high," Vaughn admitted, "but we could attempt something within a few hours." "And if it fails?" Will pressed. "This could trigger a war." "We don't have much choice, Will," Keller said. "Then give me a plan that can work." A heavy silence fell over the room. Will looked around. "Any other ideas?" David Cole and John Marsh exchanged a look. "There is another way," Cole said. He took a deep breath. "A full-scale attack." Will's stomach tightened. "A failed covert mission would trigger war anyway," Cole continued, "and its chance of success is low. We may have no choice but to strike first, seize the base and the ship before they have a chance to prepare. General Marsh had assured me the military can be ready within a week." Will let out a heavy sigh. He then turned to the generals. "Can we even win a full-scale war?" "If we strike first, our odds are significantly higher," Marsh said. He brought up a rotating globe covered in satellite icons on the screen. "We'd hit their communications and second-strike satellites first. Simultaneously, we'd be launching nuclear strikes on shoreline bases and major cities." The screen changed, depicting a map of China with highlighted points across its image. Marsh paused. "I must stress, sir, We won't destroy all their assets. Some counterstrikes are inevitable. You would need to be evacuated to the lunar base before the launch. How many casualties do you assess on our side? Will asked. Millions, Marsh said flatly. It's a choice between war now or war later in a worse position, after they've alienated our allies and dissolved our influence in space and on Earth, Cole said. This could end civilization, Joe said urgently. We must exhaust every other option first. We don't have time, Cole said. Will leaned forward, head heavy in his hands. The weight of the decision crushed down on him. Sir, Keller said, if we delay and the ship leaves Xinglong, we may lose our only chance to acquire this technology. Will's face hardened. He turned to Vaughn. What are the chances we can steal the ship without being noticed? Extremely low, Vaughn admitted plainly. And if we don't try to be unnoticed? Still low. Without a large military operation, it's unlikely to succeed. It's clear what must be done, Cole said. Otherwise, we face war under worse conditions. A war could destroy the planet, Joe shouted. It could end modern civilization entirely. Will exhaled, long and slow. He turned to Benoff. Robert, if I gave you every resource, any budget, anything you require, how long would it take to replicate this technology? Benoff frowned. You won't like my answer, Mr. President. This technology is at least a century ahead of us, perhaps more. Without a miraculous breakthrough, we have no chance of catching up anytime soon. It's a question between war and surrender, Cole said grimly. You either believe ceding control of humanity to the Chinese is worse than nuclear war, or not. This isn't a decision for the middle of the night, Joe argued. We need more opinions, more time. Will closed his eyes. War or surrender. A choice to burn the world or hand it to the Chinese. He exhaled, resolve hardening. You're right, he said finally. He turned to Marsh. General, begin preparing assets for war. Prepare, but no action until my final order. Yes, sir. Michael, Will said to Vaughn, I want every asset activated. I want more intelligence. I want to know everything. Vaughn nodded sharply. Will turned to Benoff, but before he could speak, a sudden change in the room's atmosphere stopped him. The lights flickered. The air shimmered at the table's end, distorting and condensing at a single point at the far end of the table. What the hell? Keller gasped. The distortion coalesced into a figure in a sleek suit, its face obscured by an opaque helmet, its shiny surface reflecting the dim light. What's happening? Joe stammered. Security! Secret Service! Get in here! Will shouted. David rushed to the door and yanked it. It didn't budge. The figure's helmet hissed, releasing vapor, then lifted, revealing an elongated, shimmering, otherworldly face. A cacophony of sounds emerged from a device held where its mouth should be. Clicks, hums, then fragmented Spanish and French. David pounded the door again. Why won't this door open? Incorrigible sounds emanated from the extraterrestrial being. We need to get you out of here, sir, Marsh whispered in Will's ear. Apologies. Finally, a calm, synthetic voice said. Everyone froze, eyes fixed on the alien before them. The silence was broken by David's one last strike on the door. Secret Service? They can't hear you, the alien said. I've placed a barrier around this room. The men stood paralyzed with shock, eyes wide. I did not mean to frighten you, the alien continued. Please, sit. After a tense moment, Will took the lead and sat down. The others followed. Who are you? Will asked carefully. I am a humble emissary. You may call me Kael'thir. A moment of tense silence passed through the room once more. It's, nice to meet you, Kael'thir, Will said, his heart still pounding. I am William. I know who you are, President William Reed. Will swallowed nervously. You've been listening this whole time? Yes, your conversation was fascinating. Sorry, Joe said. You said you're an emissary? Of whom? I am an emissary of the great civilization of Ervos. Ervos? We are an ancient civilization. Our origins lie far beyond your system. We govern many planets across the galaxy. Many civilizations fall under our protection. The men exchanged looks filled with awe. They were getting an answer to the eternal question that had been on humanity's mind since the first time they gazed at space. Are we alone in the universe? So there are more civilizations out there? Joe asked. Yes, many more. And how long have you been aware of our existence? We've known of a primitive species on this planet for about 100 years of your Earth time, but held little interest in you. But now you do? Will asked. Yes, Kelther said. Let me explain. Not long ago we learned that the Basantu had made contact with your species. The Basantu? Will asked. They are a rival race, Kelther said. Their empire is as vast and powerful as ours, but they operate under different principles. Cooperation between us is impossible. A hush fell over the room. Most civilizations in the known galaxy fall within our sphere of influence or the Basantus. A galactic Cold War, Keller whispered. So these Basantu, Joe said. They made contact with the Chinese? It appears so, Kelther replied. The technology you were discussing was likely given to them by the Basantu. That makes perfect sense, Benoff said. It's light years ahead of anything we know. Why would the Basantu do that? David Cole asked. We have theories, Kelther said. They may be interested in the rare isotopes in your gas giants or other valuable resources in your system. More likely, your system holds strategic importance, a gateway to nearby sectors. They may even be embedding their own operatives within your rival's military infrastructure, preparing them for a confrontation with us. Will exchanged a worried look with Keller. Seems like it's much worse than we thought, Keller said. Do not despair, Kelther said. That's why I'm here. We propose an alliance. We will provide the technology you need to counter your rivals and tip the balance of power in your favor. And what do you want in return? Will asked. We want the Basantu expelled from your system. We cannot tolerate their presence here. It's in both our interests. Will glanced around the table. Everyone was listening intently. Specific plans will follow your approval, Kelther continued. We may require access to some of your military bases, perhaps establish our own. Will shifted in his seat, stealing a glance at the others. He noted an almost childish smile on Benoff's face. Is that all? Keller asked. Not necessarily, Kelther said. We may wish to mine certain minerals in your system. I'm confident we can reach a fair agreement. And in exchange, you'll provide us with your technology and support? Will asked. Yes, as long as your actions continue to advance our mutual interests in this region. A long silence followed. Kelther stood calmly, watching them absorb the scale of what he was offering. He'd given them a lifeline, an alternative to a devastating war or slow, inevitable defeat. At the cost of stepping into a galactic conflict they barely understood. I'll leave you to discuss, Kelther said. I will return in 2 days to hear your decision. The air shimmered, and he vanished. For a long beat, no one spoke. Then Benoff whispered, awestruck, "This is incredible." The others remained quiet. Finally, Joe chuckled hollowly. Didn't have that on my 2097 bingo card. What are we going to do? David asked. Do we have any other choice but to accept his offer? Keller said grimly. No, Will said. His voice was low and heavy. Not if we want to survive. We're becoming someone's proxy, joining a conflict much bigger than we ever imagined, David said. Well, Keller said, at least we won't lose to the Chinese.